team building, responsibility, dedication, leadership. There's so many things that they've learned from being in sports, and they've taken that into their adult life.
Welcome to Sports Mom Rapport, where we support and connect with moms of athletes while sharing helpful advice from each other and some guest experts along the way. This is Tara.
And I'm Destiny. Thank you for joining us as we highlight you incredible moms. Today we welcome Ronda Burke. She is a sports mom to 4 athlete children, yet our first ever guest to have a son who is a professional NBA player. We're super excited to hear from Ronda on how she feels athletics has united her family, how to handle adversity in sports, as well as a little bit about her own philanthropic work in communities. It's so great to have you here, Ronda. Thank you so much for joining us today. Will you please tell us a little bit about yourself, your upbringing, and the role that sports played in it, as well as introducing us to your family?
My name is Ronda Burke. I'm originally from Kansas City. I'm what they call an Air Force brat. My father is retired Air Force, so I've lived many places. Kansas City is where I have lived the longest. And I met my husband at Northwest Missouri State, who's originally from Columbus, Ohio. So we met there. I moved to Columbus where we got married. We have a total of 4 children. I have a bonus son, Jeremy, who lives in Kansas City, our daughter Amber, our son Trey, and our daughter Amani. So we have 2 boys, 2 girls. The role that sports played in my life is my husband and I, being that we're both athletes, we did meet in college. He played basketball there. That's where we met. And that's how I ended up in Columbus, Ohio, a girl from Missouri. So that's pretty much my background. And our children, Jeremy, as I mentioned, lives and works in Kansas City. He was a football player. Amber, she lives here in Columbus and she owns a organic juice bar called Juice Ave. So she's all into fresh organic pressed juice, smoothies, anything you can think of, sea moss, just healthy living. And then Trey, our son, is a 9-year vet in the NBA. He is currently rehabbing an injury, but he's doing phenomenal and he'll be back soon. And then our youngest, Amani, she's an athlete as well. She played at Ohio University for 4 years, where she still holds the records for 3-pointers made in a single game. She claims, and I back her up, she said she's the best shooter in the family.
I love that. You broke it down: football, entrepreneurship, professional sports, record holder. We've got all of that. And I love that we have you here today because obviously we're going to get to know you better and where all of that athletic ability comes from and all of that success that your kids have had in athletics. We get to hear more about that today.
Welcome, Rhonda. I love talking to somebody from my hometown. Columbus holds a special place in my heart, and I always love going back there. Great hearing the introduction of your family and the diversity that you all played. Will you give us a bit of a glimpse into your parenting philosophy and why sports were so important for your family?
Well, our philosophy is we don't push our children to do any of the activities or sports that they have done. We've definitely encouraged each and every one of them. We know they're all different. It just so happened that 2 of them completely excelled in the sport of basketball, which my husband holds near and dear to his heart. But our children did a variety of sports. Jeremy did both football and track. Amber, she's the one that's not in sports. She's the entrepreneur. She literally participated in every sport that was out there, from track to basketball to volleyball. She was on the dance team. So she's done it all. So she knows the importance of playing sports and teamwork. And Trey, the one who has made a profession of sports with basketball, he also played football. He ran track in high school. While he was still playing basketball, he actually went to state for track his junior year. And he tried to convince us that he could play football and basketball at the same time. But we had to inform him that football is totally out with these basketball scholarships on the line. So basketball is his profession. And Amani, her background is in both volleyball and basketball. She definitely could have been a Division I athlete, a scholarship athlete in whichever sport she chose. Just so happens to be that it was basketball. The sports has been I guess, the nucleus to our parenting philosophy because it's pulled our family together. It's something that we can all do regardless who is participating. Everyone can go. So we use that pretty much to raise our family. That's what held us together. It's something that we all love and we all do on a daily basis. My husband and I still try to stay as fit as possible. That's part of our philosophy. It's a huge part. And now we have grandchildren who are picking up the torch and doing the same thing.
I love that it's just the bond for you all. And I love how there's so much variety and how you've just encouraged, no matter what they want to pursue, just encouraging them and not forcing them. I want to dive into health a little later too, because you and I were talking about being fellow vegetarians and all, and, loving to exercise. So we'll talk about that a little more later.
Okay.
Rhonda, the way that you described that athletics and sports has been like a nucleus for your family, I feel like so many families can relate to that, but I don't know that I've ever heard it described that way. It's just such a vision. You can literally picture the nucleus and how that core and that root and those values and all of that. So I love how you described that because I haven't heard it described that way before.
Thank you. And, you have to think about it that sports is expensive. We spend a lot of money on our kids participating in any sport. It's going to cost you money. So it's a lot of sacrifice. Your children that aren't participating, again, they can still be a part of it. They can come every summer. Our family vacation was around an AAU tournament. If we're going to Orlando, if we're going to Virginia Beach, the whole family's going. This is our family vacation because we couldn't afford to do both. Do the AAU thing and then plan a family vacation. So that's what we planned everything around. So the girls, if they weren't playing, they didn't feel like they were missing out because, hey, we have a vacation. We're going to Virginia Beach. We have this house on the beach with the team and the whole family's there. So that's how we looked at it. And that's how they were raised.
And that's a perfect segue to the next question I was going to ask you is, what characteristics do you think your kids develop through sports? But it sounds like you could probably elaborate a little bit more and also speak to what characteristics the other siblings got through supporting one another.
Oh, yeah. Every one of our children knows the importance of teamwork. None of them had played an individual sport, even track. When they were playing track, they were still on relay teams. So it was all teamwork. It was responsibility. You had to be dedicated. Trey would get up when he was in high school at 5 a.m. Actually, I think it was closer to 4 because high school started pretty early. He would get up and do his trainings before he went to school. So he would train, he would shower, eat breakfast, and then he would start his normal day. Dedication and commitment. And then also we understood that each child is different. So my husband coached Trey, but he did not coach Amani, because he knew he could push Trey in a different way than he could push Amani. He had to allow someone else to coach Amani. Not only did they learn characteristics, but we learned a lot about our kids as well. We knew who we could push in which way. Team building, responsibility, dedication, leadership. There's so many things that they've learned from being in sports, and they've taken that into their adult life.
Cool how you've recognized the differences in your children and who could be coached by their dad and who needed an outside source, right?
Yeah, we knew immediately. Amani tried to quit about 100 times, but also we didn't allow her to just quit. She just wanted to quit because she didn't want to practice that day. If you could give me a true reason of why you're quitting this sport, then we can have a conversation. But if you can't, there's not even going to be a conversation had about it, because we know that down the line, she would have had regrets.
That's wise of you not to let her just quit in the moment.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about that a lot in our podcast. Is this a moment or is this really a real feeling?
Right.
So the dedication, the commitment, the teamwork in your family, it's all just a part of you all. And I like how you went into the sacrifices it's expensive. No matter what, it's expensive. And you had 4 children all participating in sports and other activities. So cool that everybody looked forward to the travel for the competitions since you turned them into vacations. Kudos to you too, because it's always been difficult for me to travel for a competition and just let go to vacation mode. Sounds like your whole family made cool memories out of these trips.
Oh, yeah.
So surrounded by sports, but getting to enjoy and bond over all these travel meets too.
And try to relax in between all the games.
Right.
That's
the hard part.
So Rhonda, how would you describe your role as a sports mom? I know that you did sports yourself and you guys have always encouraged all your children, but how would you describe your particular role?
I would describe my role as the glue. So my husband, again, he coached Trey. There were times where him and Trey bumped heads. He didn't coach Amani. He wasn't literally her coach, but of course he still coached Amani. So a lot of times I had to be the one that would come in after he pretty much told them what they did wrong and what they did right. So I was more of the comforter before, during, and after the game. So I consider myself the glue. I think that's my role.
That is a great analogy. I haven't heard that before. I just picture it. You're glue. You're holding everybody together. He might be coaching them where they might be a little hurt, but you're making sure everything's meshing and holding it all together.
Yeah, I would say that regardless what sport or what time of the year it was, I was still mom. So I was always a sports mom. I was mom first.
And moms have that special ability to know sometimes exactly what our children need, and not to knock dads, because dads obviously have their own roles and positions and stuff in the family too. But I feel like sometimes with the feelers that women are, like we just have this innate ability to know what our kids need in different moments. Sometimes they need us to be a little bit harder. Sometimes they need us to be softer and more nurturing. And I think that description of being the glue is right on. Talking about the fact that both Trey and Amani played Division I college basketball, were there any differences that you saw between the men's and the women's side of their athletic experiences?
The biggest thing that I would say, and although Amani played at a smaller division, she played in the MAC, they still had a really good team. But the biggest thing that I would say is the attendance, the participation in the games. I would be really disappointed to come in and see the lack of participation on the girls' side. I think that's why I was so excited to watch this year's NCAA, the whole tournament, and all of the hype and the support, just the love that's behind the women's side, because they don't always get that. And a lot of times those games are more exciting than the guys' games. Like if you guys would just come and check out the ladies, you would see that they are ballers and they could really play.
What would you think Amani would have to say about, or have you guys talked about this recent surge and what you would describe as women's basketball has always been super exciting, but the attendance hasn't always been there. And so this recent surge, would you say that this is a trajectory to launch forward more women's sports in general? And what would Amani say about that?
I believe so. We didn't talk in that aspect of it, but of course she was loving every minute of it. She was really excited about these games. I think that this is a launching pad for the women. It's a great thing. Social media is one of those things that I think is just going to continue to help the sport. It's going to continue to shed light on the sport because, again, as the years go by, the social media platform just grows and grows. This is a huge thing for women's basketball, and it's just going to get better and better. Because the women that came before them, there were some really good players, but they didn't have that type of platform. That makes a difference as well.
I agree. And you see it across, like with women's volleyball. These volleyball games are being held in huge football stadiums, and it's so exciting to see that, and much overdue, right, Tara?
Yeah, it's exciting. I love the attention that they're getting. And like you mentioned, it's launching them. And I find it a little interesting that when you're talking about women's basketball versus men's basketball, how the men have always gotten the attention in the past, when you actually look at the sport that our children are in gymnastics, the women are the ones that get all the attention, and it's been taking off. But there's not a lot of attention on the men's. And sometimes I'm like, you know what? These guys are doing really cool things, but the arenas are pretty empty during their meets. So it's kind of a switch. But I love the attention that all these collegiate sports are getting.
They put in so much work, and you just want someone to understand the work and the preparation that goes into it, and then the outcomes. If they would just fill the arena and bring the support, it would make a difference. It makes a difference when you're participating in a sport in an empty arena versus a full arena.
Absolutely. The energy, and these athletes are such role models for so many.
Oh, yeah.
They really look up to them. So it's exciting to see the surge in attendance. Switching gears a little bit back to Trey, your family has had the blessed experience to have him go on to professionally play in the NBA. Has he always dreamed of making it to the professional level?
He pretty much has. I remember, I can't recall what grade he was in, but he was young. He liked to draw. I was looking through some old stuff. This was years ago. I think he may have been a freshman in college or maybe a senior in high school. And I found a little notepad to where he had drawn himself and he had an NBA jersey on. So he always believed that he could make it to that level. We never really discussed it until it was really a possibility because we just wanted him to go and get a good education. He put in a lot of hard work. As I mentioned, he trained before school, after school, all year round, and he still kept his grades up to be able to get into Michigan. So we were very proud of him. We were just happy for the scholarship.
Mm-hmm. I remember those days because my husband actually was fortunate enough to coach Trey at Michigan. And I remember there's this kid, he's like, Trey Burke, he's coming out of Columbus. Everybody would have thought he'd go to Ohio State, but he's going to come play for us. And he was so excited and honored to coach him because he's been one of his best athletes he's ever coached. But to say all of that, to say, I know that Trey is gifted and special. Would you describe any adversities that he encountered along the way? And then what would it take to get to that professional level for other athletes that have that same drive and goal?
His biggest adversity is he was a smaller guard. So he always played with this chip on his shoulder because he didn't want to be considered the smaller guard, but he knew he was. I believe that's why he put in the work that he put in. And going from Columbus to Michigan is hard on a Columbus kid. He got a lot of grief. Actually, before he decided to go, we sat him down when the offer came across and we did a pros and cons thing for him because he did not get an offer from Ohio State. I thank God that he didn't because he probably would have taken it and that was not the school for him. And at the time, he would have had blinders on. So I'm glad about that. But make no doubt about it, he is most definitely a Michigan man. So he was thinking between Michigan and the University of Cincinnati because the coach at the time did a fantastic job recruiting him. Every time we looked up, that coach was right there. He took so much interest in everything that we did, the family. So Trey was really feeling that. So when Michigan came to the table, we thought, okay, pump your brakes. We really need to look at this one. So my husband, being the coach and analyst and critical thinking basketball person that he is, he did a pros and cons list, knowing that Michigan was the better fit for Trey. But it was important that we allowed Trey to be the one to make that decision on where he was going to go to school. So he sat there, and some of the things that should have definitely been a pro for Michigan, he put as a pro for Cincinnati. And it ended up being, okay, I'm going to go to Cincinnati. And Benji and I look at each other and say, there is no way we are about to let this happen. We pull him back in there and we have a heart to heart with him. And we tell him we understand how difficult it is to be from here and knowing that you're going to get a lot of backlash, probably going to get lightweight harassed, which he did, and doing the comfortable thing and going to Cincinnati because all your friends are going down there and that's your comfort. But it's time to swim against the grain and go with what we know is best. he ultimately said, you know what, you're right. He took some visits and he said, this is the school for me. So we could have sat there and really let him make the decision, but there is no way we were going to sit there and let him make that decision if he wasn't making the one that we knew was the best one. That, I think, is some adversity, and he still gets a little grief, but people know he's a Michigan guy.
Sounds like Cincinnati was very persuasive. The recruiters were doing a great job and really made him feel like that was the place for him. They did a good job.
We're still friends with Coach Jackson, who is one of the assistant coaches. He showed a lot of love, and he's like family. We're still good friends with him.
Well, it's beautiful to see Trey's hard work paying off. Great to hear his success story. What would he say and describe to others to make it to that professional level?
Not only commitment, but you do have to have some special skills, because when he was a freshman, everything was perfect when he went to Michigan. I mean, the perfect scenario, the perfect situation. The point guard was leaving. He was pretty much going to be the man, the point guard as a freshman. And he was told that. We believed them and they did what they said. So when he went in, he had some freedom, but he still had Coach Beeline, who was still a strict coach, which Trey needed as well. A few times Coach Beeline would call and was like, okay, we need a family meeting, because Trey may not be doing everything that Coach Beeline wanted him to do off the court. But Trey needed that as well. He needed someone to hold him accountable on and off the court. He just put in the work and he believed in himself. And again, it was the perfect situation. His freshman year, the tournament didn't end the way he wanted it to end. It ended extremely early. That was a big blow. And he said, hey, I'm taking my chances. I'm going to the NBA. He had his stuff packed up and someone got wind of it when they walked past his room and saw all of the stuff packed up, saying, I think Trey Burke's leaving. I think Trey Burke's leaving. So that got out there. And then it was like a wildfire. I got the phone call at work. My husband got the phone call at work. We got on the road and had a meeting with Beeline, the coaches, Trey. And no. So we had to talk that out. That was emotional and hard, because I know that that loss hit him hard. But it took a whole team of his, not only his parents, it took the whole staff, it took his teammates to all tell him, hey, let's at least try this one more time. And he listened and came back, and they almost had a championship. It was great.
All hands on deck. Come up here, meet with Ronda, come talk to her. It's just so funny. But what I hear from all of that I love is, one, the family decision when you guys come together and you're like, what is going to be best for our son? Are we going to surround him in an environment where the coaches are holding him accountable, even if that means we're going to have these family meetings here and there? And as sports moms, we can all relate to that, because there are times that our kids, like we talked about earlier, they may want to quit prematurely. They may want to enter the draft maybe too early. Maybe it's just not the perfect time, but surrounding them with people that are going to pour into them. And I think as sports moms, we trust all of those people wholeheartedly to come in and, I'm looking at your best interest. And you have to trust that even though as your, 18, 19, 20-year-old self may not feel like this is right, like we all have your best interest at heart. So I love hearing about that. Tara, do you have anything?
I just can picture everybody just coming all together. Back up the car. We need to go talk him back to reality here. So
it took all of us. At the time, I was working for the city of Columbus. I was in the HR department for the Department of Development. So Benji was in the school system. We met at home, jumped on the road, had a discussion between the two of us of how we're going to handle this, what we're going to say. And then once we got with the coaches, it really was a team effort, because Trey respected and at least listened to everyone that was in the room. So it wasn't just my parents telling me, no, don't go. My coaches telling me, no, don't go. It was everyone, not just telling him, but putting on paper, like, if you go this year to the draft, this is where you would fall. You probably won't be in the first round. But if you come back, everyone's coming back, plus more. This is what you can do. This is what could happen. And literally, when he came back, everything that we told him happened. except for the national championship. So close. He was happy that we convinced him to stay, and that's all that mattered.
It's nice to know that he was receptive to his parents, to his coaches, all telling him that. Do you feel that there is pressure for athletes to enter the draft early, or do you think that that was just something that was in Trey's mind?
A little bit of both. When he first said it, he was upset about the loss. He was so upset that he was kind of loud and telling his dad that he was gone. So people were around and hearing that. So that was the first of it. But I think there is a lot of pressure on the kids, especially depending on what school you go to. There's some schools where you're supposed to be in there 1 year. They're making room for the next person. It's time for you to go on and enter the draft, and they may not be ready. You know, situations change. Someone may not develop or have the career the year that they were predicted to have. So things could change, but I think it's definitely a lot of pressure on them.
I was just thinking too, when you're talking about this, how probably difficult sometimes for parents to maybe know in the back of their mind that maybe there's something their athletes should or shouldn't do, but then also wanting to empower them to make decisions. So it's like there's that fine line on like getting involved, but then also how involved, telling them what they need to do, but then they have free will. So, and they're adults by that point. How do you balance that parental guidance versus their desires?
What we try to do is we really just try to provide the information that we know. We're going to give it to you. From there, you're an adult. You're going to make the ultimate decision. We just hope that you make the right one. You just have to hope that your athlete has a good enough head on their shoulders and that you're providing them with enough information to make that decision.
I feel like a lot of times people think that once an athlete goes pro, that life is great, right? Like they're making great money and the road is easy for them, traveling the world, experiencing all these wonderful things. Would you mind talking to us a little bit about the similarities and differences between playing college and then playing professional and what that actually looks like and translates to?
The biggest difference is now it's your job, it's your livelihood, it's your life. Trey was drafted to Utah. If we could do it over again, Benji would have gone out to Utah with Trey and I would have stayed at home with the girls because it was hard for Trey. He was 20 when he was drafted. He wasn't even old enough to go out with the guys. Going all the way out to Utah, although we went out there as much as we could, it was hard for him. And we found out later down the line that he had went through some like hard times. And he was out there by himself and he didn't share it with us. I had to read an article which just crushed me that he said at one time he was in the darkest time of his life. And I'm thinking, what? We didn't know because we were so far away and we just thought, okay, he's in the NBA, he's doing what he loves, he's made it. But things change, things happen. Politics, coaches, owners. You may think you're going out there and he's a rookie. He did great his rookie year, but he still went through a hard time. If we could do it all over again, we would be there. NBA, you're a pro now. Like I said, this is your livelihood. You need a support team there to help you. So if we could do it all over again, Benji would have left the home and would have been Trey's roommate, at least for his first 2 years. Until he could get acclimated and he would have someone there to bounce things off of if a game was hard or a practice was hard or something didn't work out for him versus talking over the phone. That's one thing that I do now. If I go too long and I haven't heard from my children, it's time for a FaceTime, not a phone call. I need to see you because you can hide things over the phone, which he did for a few years. And like I said, I didn't find out until I read an article.
That must have been just heartbreaking to hear it through media. Some children talk to their parents daily. Some people don't and keep things inside. And
even if you do talk to your child daily, they're good. They can mask things. If they don't want you to know, you're not going to know. That's why I like the FaceTime, the Zoom, whatever, something so I can actually see you. I can tell if you're okay or not when I see you.
That's a great point. And you would think that it's all bright and sunny. He's professionally in the NBA now, but he was just thrown into seriously adulting, probably feeling lonely. I'm so sorry that he went through it, but it sounds like it made him stronger and you guys were there for him.
Yeah. I'm big on the mental health part of it now that I know. If I had any advice to give to a parent, that's what I'd say. Pay close attention to the mental health part of it. Not if your child is out there looking like they're loving life and enjoying what they're doing. It may just be a mask. You have to really dive deep in the mental part of it. No, how are you really doing? Like if this went away right now, how would you do? Would you be able to handle this? And that was my biggest fear with Trey having his Achilles injury. The mental health part is something that I feel on all levels of sports need to be put on the front line because depression and injuries, abuse with the medications once they have injuries, it all is tied together.
This is actually perfect timing that we were going to ask that question next, is that you had mentioned Trey was coming off of an injury. And, I can relate. Ava had a labrum repair in her hip. Mm-hmm. Tara, you've shared that your daughter is just coming off of an ACL repair, and it's hard. And if you haven't gone through it with an athlete child, it is hard. And then once you embark upon that, you see them ebbing and flowing and going through it. Please share with us, what are his goals now and what do things look like for him?
Right. And as a family of athletes, we've really been blessed on the injury side. Amani she went through her whole career with no injury. Trey went through his whole high school and pretty much college career with no injury. The NBA, he had a fractured finger. That was it. And then December 6th, last December, he was playing in New Mexico. And we were watching the game. And he went up for a layup and came down and was on the ground. And we knew immediately once he hit the floor, something serious. The next morning, he says, completely torn Achilles. And it just crushed me for a few reasons. It crushed me because, again, we've never had to deal with an injury. And I feel his pain. He feels our pain. So we're thinking, how is he going to take this? Basketball is what he does. This is going to be a season-ending injury when he was trying to work his way back to getting on a team, and he was that close. But again, we know things happen for a reason. He went up to the University of Michigan to have his surgery, and he immediately started the process of, how do I get back on the court? He was like, Mom, watch my comeback. I said, I already know that's the type of kid that I have. I already know. But I had no idea that from December 6th to the end of March, when he's out of the boot, he's going to be on the court already working out, already training, already doing the things that he was doing before. You cannot tell me that this is the same kid that just completely tore his Achilles. It was so bad that I had to say, Trey, are you supposed to be doing this stuff? Like, Mom, I'm not doing anything I'm not supposed to be doing. So he's back. But my biggest concern was, how was he going to handle this? What type of medication is he on? Are you taking it just because you have it? He's like, no, Mom, I'm only going to take it if I need it. And I'm like, Lord, please. I've watched enough Netflix movies and so forth to know that this is how it happens. It's one injury and it's innocent, but it can turn into other things. Or this is how it happens. You're no longer doing what you love, but your whole schedule has changed. So now your mind is playing tricks on you. Can I come back? Will I be the same? Will I be able to finish my career? That's where, we have to really ask the questions. How are you doing? How are you feeling? What type of thoughts are you having? How do you feel about your future? How do you feel about what's going to happen next? His answers were always what I wanted to hear. I feel good, Mom. I think rehab is going good. So that's how our last part of the year ended going into this year, but he's right on track. I have no doubt that Trey will be back doing what he loves very soon.
Good to hear that he's having a nice recovery. I can completely relate. It sounds like we have similar time frame. We had never had any big injuries in our family until my daughter, who's currently at the University of Michigan, at practice tore her ACL and both meniscus back in the fall. So she is 5 months post-op right now, but I can completely relate with you. They go in, they do everything they possibly can to become as strong as possible. Mentally, it is tough, and you've got to check in with them. There's a lot going on, and they can be left behind. But I feel for you. I have no doubt that his determination and desire is going to push him even further than he could have ever imagined.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And same for Lily.
Yes.
As you were describing that, I was like, wow, it's crazy how an injury can magnify your doubts, questions, insecurities, all of those things. When you're going through an injury, they can be heightened. And even as a mom, like, is he going to be okay? How is he going to recover through this? All of those questions that we have oftentimes as moms in general, but then when our child is enduring something, it's heightened.
There is a plus out of it. He's had a chance to spend a lot of family time. He bought a home here in Columbus, so he's back here with his wife and 2 children, and he's even helping his high school that he graduated from, some of the guys there. He goes in the morning and he trains, and they go in with him and get some training from an NBA vet. So there's a silver lining there.
I'm hearing some coaching maybe in his future.
Those are special times he's getting to spend with his family. Unfortunate reason, but making the most of it and getting to spend time and influence other rising athletes.
Yes.
It's cool that you have this interesting viewpoint as an NBA mom. And I have heard that you have been working with other moms of NBA professional athletes for a greater cause. Would you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. Since I've been an NBA mom, I've been in several moms groups. The latest one that I'm in, it's called Our Mothers. And the founding mother is Ronda Durant. She's Kevin Durant's mom. And she's always wanted to do a mom's group that really focuses on giving back to the community. She decided to create another one, which we had our launch in February in Indianapolis at the All-Star game. So we had a chance to work with Foot Locker and some of the local schools, the All-Star game, and then talk to some of the kids and give back. We did a shoe drive. They did a panel. There were 4 moms that were on the panel. They did a question and answer session. So it's just one of those things that we like to give back in the communities where our sons work and play and where we live. So we're all about doing a bunch of things together to where we can help other people. So Ronda Durant, Dina Beasley are 2 of the founding mothers. And then myself, I do the social media. I'm excited about it.
Very cool. It sounds like it's up and coming. I'll have to follow you guys on Instagram.
Yes, it's under Our Mothers, OUR Mothers.
What would you say that motivation came from for all of you to have the passion and desire to want to give back? And what prompted your involvement in that area specifically?
Well, it seems like from day one, all of the mothers want to do something. We've always had a mom organization, and our focus has always been when we get together, we're going to do some type of fundraiser. We're going to give back in some way, either feeding the homeless, or we're real big on shoe drives, shoe giveaways, because everyone can always use some shoes. So our motivation is just to do what we always do, and that's help others. We're in a situation to where our position allows us to do that. So why not come together? We're a sisterhood. We all have the same thing in common. We have a son or a daughter. It's WNBA as well. We have children that are athletes on a professional level, be it NBA or overseas. So just coming together and doing something for someone, and the smiles on the children's face when they get to come in and see the moms and talk about the moms, tell us how much they love our sons, and to be able to meet us, that's another joyful part of it. So it's always a fun time.
Well, definitely with professional sports, the athletes are so visible because there's obviously events to be attended, and your children are such inspirations to these young kids that to be able to get out in the community and to be able to be a role model, an example, show what it means to be a father and to be working hard for their family, whatever it is. Sounds like Our Mothers allows you guys to get out there and say, these athletes are not just doing this just because. It's bigger, greater.
Definitely.
It's reminding me of a quote that I read today by Naval Ravikant. 3 things in life: your health, your mission, and the people you love. That's it.
I like that.
You've got a mission. You're helping people. You're surrounded by the people that you love, and you got to take care of yourself. Which, by the way, can we talk about how you like to take care of yourself? What kind of activities and things you like to nourish your body with?
Yes, I am a big health advocate. I believe in, even if you fall off for a little while, that doesn't mean you need to stay there. Our lives change. Women go through menopause, men go through things. So you may not be as active as you once were, but that doesn't mean you can't get back. I'm a witness to that. I kind of fell off a little bit, but I'm one of those that once I get back, I pretty much get addicted to fitness and keeping myself healthy. The good thing about me is I have a support system. My entire family, my husband, my children, we all do this together. Once one person starts, it's a ripple effect, and we all jump back in the gym and get it together. I do a lot of physical fitness that's around a hot workout. I'm one of those that love to work out in the heat. So I'm a part of a gym that is a hot workout, like 130 degrees infrared heat while I'm working out. That's what I love because I like to sweat. We changed our diet back in 2017. We focus on a plant-based diet. We have eaten some fish, but no turkey, beef, pork, no red meat or anything like that. And we try to do plant-based. And again, as I mentioned, we have a daughter who owns an organic fresh pressed juice bar. So that makes it a little easier as well. We do juice cleanses where we do nothing but fresh pressed juice. And it's something that we enjoy. We like doing it. And once we get started, we're like a freight train.
You're all supporting each other. I love it how you have the positive family peer pressure. I'm going to go to the gym. Everybody else wants to go to the gym and eat healthy.
Yeah. It's one of those things, if I'm doing it, we're all doing it, because I'm not cooking you a meal and drinking juice. That's not how it works.
Totally.
We did that last year. Remember, Tara, for starting in New Year's, we went vegan, plant-based, and we lasted from January to maybe September or something. But
good.
It was myself and Ava and Laval.
Did you just say January to September? I think you meant January to February.
No way. It was like, but the thing is, probably like 6 months in, I did add fish. But it was funny because our younger two, they're 15 and 10, and they were like, yeah, I don't know what you guys are doing, but I did the exact same thing, Rhonda. I said, okay, well, then you guys make your own stuff. If I'm making this and this has got too many vegetables for you, you can make your own thing. And then they started, they're like, it's not bad, actually. And Tara was sending me all kind of recipes. I felt great. I don't eat a lot of meat anyway, so it wasn't hard.
Anytime we travel, we're looking up vegan restaurants, and we travel to some places that have some delicious food. And if you're traveling with us, you're going with us. We have friends that are not plant-based that love to come and eat with us because they know we're going to find some good restaurants. And they were like, this is good.
It is fun to travel, and I'm a foodie myself. I love to travel and find good stuff, get inspiration. So what advice would you offer to other parents navigating the world of youth sports and supporting their children's athletic dreams?
The first advice I would say is stay in the moment, enjoy the moment, because it goes so fast. You're going to look up and it's going to be either halfway done or it's going to be over, and you can't go back. Don't look forward, just enjoy the moment. And when I say don't look forward, of course you plan for the future, but stay in the moment, enjoy that. And then also make sure that you're a resource for your athlete. If they come to you, make sure you're open, you're honest, you're giving your honest opinion on the assessment of them, how they did. But my biggest thing is enjoy the moment and pay attention to that mental health. Make sure you're looking at your child, not just speaking to them. Because again, Amani wanted to quit every 2 minutes. And she stayed close to home. She could have played at a much larger school. She went right up the street to OU because she's a homebody. And we know that if you have multiple athletes, you have to understand which makes each of them tick individually, not as a group. These are individuals. They could be in the same sport. It doesn't matter. They could be in different sports, but those are two different individuals. And you have to understand that. And our last and final thing that is stickler for our family is love who loves you when you're being recruited. Don't just go to the big lights and glamour and the big, huge school just because that was your dream school. If they're not loving you, then that's not your dream school. Love who loves you. Recruiting, picking the correct school is important.
I love that. Love who loves you. Yes, you want to be around people that appreciate you for who you are, not trying to turn you into something else.
Yeah, and just because that's your dream school doesn't mean that's the best school for you.
Yeah. All great advice. Thank you for sharing it all with us.
You're welcome. And that's actually why our kids ended up at the schools that they're at. As I mentioned, Amani could have gone to a bigger school. She could have gone farther away. She could have played anywhere. But when she was recruited by OU, when we went to the visit, he said, I like her exactly how she is. She still had a whole nother year to develop. And if you like her how she is right now, that's someone who's loving you. Love who loves you. It was a perfect school for her. And people were like, why'd she end up at OU? Because that was the school for her. She was comfortable. Like I said, she was our homebody. She didn't want to go too far away. And she wasn't recruited by Ohio State, although OU went in there and beat Ohio State. And she was the leading scorer on both sides, is what I'm saying. She could have played anywhere, but she decided to go to a school that was the best fit for her.
She felt really accepted there.
He did.
You have just blessed us with so much wisdom today. I'm so thankful that you joined us. What are some ways that our listeners can keep up with you? Would you want to share any social media handles or any websites?
Social media is my_Gray_Slay_2020. And that's Gray with an A. As you can see, I'm all gray. That's my Instagram. I'm very active on that. ourmothersinc.org. That is another. On Facebook, we have the Burke family page. You can follow us on that as well.
Perfect. And Burke with an E, Burke.
Correct.
Thank you for blessing us with all your wisdom and sharing all your stories with us.
And congratulations on such a successful podcast. You ladies are doing great.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you, and it's possible because of amazing moms like you that are willing to share their stories with us.
Thank you. And congratulations on the success of your beautiful daughters in gymnastics, and best of luck to both of them for the remaining of their career and beyond.
We're so glad you've joined us today. Thank you for listening. Upcoming episodes and show info can all be found at sportsmomrapport.com. If you've enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend. We'd love to hear from you, so please reach out to us with any comments or if you or someone you know would like to share their story and connect with us.